What is up, game changers? Welcome to the end game. Today I'm going to talk about something very important that you might want to hear, you might want to get some information and insight about, because it deals with the changes that are happening right now, right? Like light and dark. Why do I say certain things like you have to be healed in order to be a healer anymore? Because the world has changed, right, game changers? So I will deep dive into that in just a moment. But really quick, my name is Juniper Blue Mystique. I am an Ascension Master, Master Healer, and Divine Guide. I have spent the last 4 years bringing about the return of Christ. And trust me, it's all proven and not normal, and nobody else could do what I have done. That's not a joke. I cleared Mount Shasta. I activated pyramids all over the globe. This is not like what you do. This is not like healing in them. This is different, okay? I have moved mountains. I shifted the poles. I created 5 more when I took us into 7D. And the funny thing is, the Spirit had me record all of this, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what was happening and what was coming at the time. I just kept going. I just kept doing those nudges, those things the Spirit told me to do. And it turns out I brought it all through, and I survived. I almost didn't survive. It was very, very painful. Now, if you're truly watching the work that I did, you would have some respect, because how I survived, I don't really know. It took every bit of strength that I had, and I did it on my own, meaning my twin flame didn't make it. I got a walk-in. So even the attack did take him down, okay? Now, if you watch everything I know, you'll know what happened to Jesus and Mary Magdalene. You'll know what happened to Adam and Eve. You'll know what happened to Sekhmet and Horus, because those are all the lifetimes that I have been clearing. It's not a joke. It did all play out through me, meaning I didn't know what was happening. I really didn't. I didn't understand it all until it was complete, because it was my own awakening. So I don't expect everybody to understand it, but what I will expect you to do is to realize that please put your ego aside, put judgment aside, because it's more than what we would understand easily, okay? It takes some time to process. Now, in doing the work that I did, there was a certain point where I went into the core of the earth. I went into the earth and I changed the language, okay? So if you really know what happened way back then, the darkness came down and took the language of God and used it against you all, okay? So they had access to the light. They knew what to do. It started with a fallen angel, Archangel Samael, who I ended up burning in Mount Shasta Part 2. Truthfully, he did it to himself, because it's Judgment Day. And I continue telling you guys is that if you're a healer and you have not had complete healing, you're not seeing of the light. And why do I say that? This is not because I want you have to heal through me. You better do my courses. If you don't want to, that's fine. It's a privilege not given to all. And that's not ego. There's a reason for this, okay? Because in the work that I did, in bringing about Judgment Day, in bringing about the rapture, the return of Christ, I cut off and divided darkness from light. Darkness can no longer have access to what the light is doing. Darkness can no longer use God's words against humankind. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so, knowing what happened through history to the work that I've done, you actually have to watch the work that I've done to know this, though. That's why when people come and throw judgments my way, I guarantee you, they can't see clearly. They did not watch the work that I did. Here's the thing, is if you have any darkness in you, if you have not healed enough, if you have not had the activations and things, if you're still working through the portals, you can't be healing people right. I mean, you can, because it's free will, but it doesn't mean you're hearing clearly. It doesn't mean you're connecting to the light right, because, my friends, when I did the work that I did, if you're truly watching the pyramid activations, shifting poles, taking us into 7D, I cut off all darkness from the light. It is the only divide that exists at this time. And I talked about that. I showed my very first workshop and how it was spell casting and the divide that I created. The divide that I created. Okay? Please understand that if you're getting downloads that you did it, where's your proof? Okay? The divide that I created, and I prove this every time, and it's to those that can see. Those that choose to see, those that choose to pay attention to the words that are spoken, to watch the videos, those are the ones that are going to make it. I'm not kidding you. Because it's quite complex, and in order to understand, God says, see this, and it's up to you. Okay? So, I cannot tell you enough that I cut off the darkness from the light. I cut it off. There was a time where we were able to have darkness and still be able to see the light. Okay, that was that half, and that's what they would convince you is okay. We can't do that anymore. If you have any darkness in you at all, it is cutting you off from the light. Okay, so personally, I'm very careful who I get my messages from. I'm very careful who I get healings from. I listen very carefully. I watch the work that I do. I watch people come to my things and get healings. And the common theme is if there's darkness, they can't see clearly. Another common theme is that there's always something trying to stop them from doing it. Okay? There will be always something trying to stop you from hearing me. There will be always something trying to stop you from getting the activations, from doing what God wants you to do. Because if you do it, you're going to help somebody else through. If you do it, you bring more light into this earth. That's your job, okay? My job's already done. I changed the activations. I changed the darkness from light. It is your job to hear me. It is your job to pay attention to the work that's happening so that you can know what's coming through. It is your job to heal and to heal and to heal and to heal and undo all your karma, because if you have any, you cannot see God clearly in truth. That is what I've done. If you truly watch the videos, clearing the Nile, when I did that, there was this dark crystal in the core. There was one point I cut everything off from the darkness. Everything. That is the only divide that exists, is darkness to light. And if you have any darkness in you at all, where that darkness resides blocks you from me and from the light. And there's a reason for that. Okay? If you go into judgment, if you go into haste, if you're not listening to God, to Spirit, then who are you listening to and what are you listening to? Do you even know? Because if you have both in you, there are two dialects going on within you at this time. One is of the light and one is of the darkness. And if there's darkness in you, you're going to have a hard time hearing that light. Okay? If you are a healer, and you have not gotten all your DNA activations, if you have not healed your shadow, you are not fully healing in the light. That is not my ego. Did I bring about the new modalities? Yes. You guys don't realize is that I truly did change the world. I changed your reality. I changed the time. I changed to the end of time, to the beginning of a new world, the seventh wave of creation. That is not a joke, my friends. Okay? I changed the outcome for you. It is your job now to either rise or to fall. The choice is yours. It will remain yours. Okay, you don't have to do the work that I do. You do not have to work with me. That's a privilege. That's a blessing to get to, because I am truly the one who brought it about. That's like looking at God and going, fuck, I don't need you. I'm better than you. I don't need you. You don't know what you're talking about. But I do, okay? Because I know what I did these last 4 years. I see it clearly now, but I was also doing it. I know the pain it caused. I know the strength it took. Okay, I know what's coming for the collective soul. And why do I know? And I'm saying things differently than other people because I did the work, okay? Not everybody can see it yet. They are rising and rising. And it's hard for people to understand even what Mount Shasta is, let alone who I am, okay? So when I tell you, if you have any darkness in you, you are cut off from the light, I mean it. Does not mean that you can't hear your guides to make the correct choices to heal that darkness, but you better know what you're listening to, okay? You cannot house both. Darkness cannot have access to the light anymore. That is the rapture, okay? I came down and caused the divide of darkness and light. I came down and removed all darkness out of this planet, and you either rise with it or you don't. That is the rapture. It's not a cult, you guys. Understand what a cult is. I had somebody throwing that at me before too. Understand what a cult is. I actually did the work. I can prove it to you. If you haven't worked with me, be quiet, right? That's all I can say. Do the workshops, work with me, have a healing session with me, then form an opinion. Okay? I will tell you right now, I spark your shadow. So if you throw judgment at me, what do you think is happening? Okay? You don't know. You don't have all the answers. You don't know who I am. You haven't watched every single video I've done. I guarantee you that. So just be very careful. This is what I'm talking about. This is how the darkness works, okay? And we cut it off from the light. The reason we did that was so they couldn't stop me. Okay? There was a certain point in my journey where they said that. If you're watching it, it was in the pyramid activations, I believe, the female ones, where I started saying these things. We're cutting them off from the light. They cannot see the light. I brought back God's language and I cut them off from it. They can no longer use God's language against you. They can no longer use the light against you. But when you're going and getting a healing from somebody and they have not made it through all the portals, there is darkness in them. What are they healing you with? Can they see clearly? No, they cannot. And I see this every day. I see people not being able to hear clearly. And it's because there's a shadow in you somewhere. Okay? If you're not listening to spirit, you're listening to something. What are you listening to? This is super important to pay attention to, my friends, because I feel this in the energy. You know, it's not my ego. If you're truly watching my videos, you'll know the changes I brought about. They affect me too, okay? My whole world changed as well, and it's going to for all of you. You have no choice, okay? The only choice you have is, where does yours change, okay? Where do you go? Because there's only 3 options of where you go. Some will stay here. Those are the ones that make it to the new earth. Those are the ones that purify their heart, let go of all karma. They can see through, not just see. Can you truly see me and what I've done? If you cannot see me clearly, it's because you have healing to do. And I see this every day. And people tell me all the time, I'm healing. And they don't realize how far back in the gates they are. Most of them are at gate 1, which is Mount Shasta. I can't see clearly. Okay? And then the final gate is the Nile, and that one's about love. So I'm going to tell you right now, I know what they are. I know what the rapture is, okay? I understand this all. God does love everybody. God doesn't judge. I don't care if you're Tom, Dick, and Harry. I don't care if you're sexual, pan, bi, whatever these names are. There's too many names, too many divisions. We're all just us. We're all flesh and bone. We all hurt. We all bleed. We all love. We all want love. That's the basis, okay? So I don't care if you're purple, red, blue, or green. I don't care who you are. God does not judge. That's where we falter. Humankind judges. People judge. Those are the ones who will throw the stones at you, okay? So it's not about that. It's not like God's coming down and going, you're good enough, you're good enough. What it is the division of darkness and light. You cannot house darkness in you and make it into the light. And if you don't want to hear me, then that tells me right away there's something in you that's blocking you from that light. Because I will tell you right now, I can prove it all to you. I can prove it all to you. I can prove it all to you. I'm not afraid to prove to you who I am. Can anybody else on this planet do that? They're really good at psychological manipulation, but can they prove it to you? I can, and I will do it left and right and center, up, down, and if you can hear God, he'll prove it to you too. Okay, because I don't have to worry about it. It's all in the Akasha records, what I did. Everything is written in the Akashic records. It's written in the divine light, which De La Roca can see that, right? Those that can access that information and the divine light can see truths. But the reason that some people are getting more cut off is because they house this darkness within them. And in the beginning of my journey to halfway through, I was cutting off the darkness from the light. Mount Shasta is a very good cursor for that. That was where the false eye was, the false veil. You see right here the triangle with the eye? You guys, I didn't paint this painting. Somebody else did a reading on me before I did the work and saw this in my energy. And we didn't know what it meant. So then she felt she had to paint it and sent it to me. And then everything unfolded from there. Over in this corner you don't see is Saturn. Okay, I sat on Saturn and rose Atlantis. That was the first thing I did. Then after that, I cleared Mount Shasta where hundreds of souls came flying out of there. It was not filled with light at all. And you've got people going there thinking it's a spiritual retreat, my friends. So you don't realize how much darkness is in you. You don't realize how much you can't see the truth because there's too much shadow blocking you from the light. And I don't care what layer it is. If there's a layer in you where you cannot see through that shadow, you cannot see the light because that is the divide that I created. And this is what I've been trying to say for a long time. This is why I have the Academy for Light Healers and the Path to Righteousness. Is because if you were healing on this planet with any shadow within you, you've been cut off from that light. The only thing you should be focusing on right now is healing completely. Okay? Because you are now in the final timelines. We are now in the rapture. Going forward, it is rapture. Where there is darkness, it will be pushed out of this planet going forward. You cannot stay here anymore. That's why I tell you guys, it's so important to hear me, okay? And if you want to mock the stuff that I did, if you want to mock the path to righteousness, it's a blessing not given to all for a reason. Because we don't want those who want to carry darkness into the light anymore. You can't do it. That is the only divide. It's not about judgment. So when you talk about God coming down and withholding things, it's not about that at all. Okay? God is all loving. God is all loving, but the changes that I caused are permanent. Okay? We must eliminate all darkness. We must eliminate all darkness, and we must come to a pure heart, or we can't align with the energies. That's what it's about. Okay? God is pure, pure love, divine light. Anything that will remain here comes to that healed state. That's what it's about. In order to get the DNA activations, you better have those DNA activations if you're going to be doing healings on people, because God has returned, and we must match that light. Okay, so again, this is not about ego. It's not like, oh, you better align with me or you can't do shit in this world. Number one, it's true. But number two, it's a different perspective than what you're seeing through. Okay, I don't respond to the judgment light, because that's not God. Okay, that's showing me you've got shadow and healing to do. That's your own shadow. Okay, what I did in the rapture and bringing about the return of Christ was I changed the darkness. Okay, I went in and I cut them off from God's language, from God's light. And then I repaired the whole entire crystalline grid, the core of the earth, from darkness back to light. I undid all of the shadow, and I cut them off from hearing and seeing and being anything of the light. Okay, because first of all, when true Christ light is here, it will burn anything outside of that. That's why they push so hard to keep you guys low, to keep you blind, to keep your vibration low, to keep you anchored into a world that doesn't really exist so they can survive. Because outside of Christ's light, they burn. And I can't tell you guys enough how, as the earth will rise now, if you are in darkness, if there's shadow within you, it won't be okay. We must eliminate all of the darkness within us. We must eliminate all of that shadow. Does that mean I have to be perfect? No, my friends. Soul growth still occurs. I still have lessons to learn. I still have so much to learn, because I'm a powerful being and I can create, and I'm a fragment of God. I'm a God. So no, soul growth still occurs, but letting go of karma, letting go of things outside of God, coming into further love is a necessity. I can't heal people unless I am activated in God's light, because that is the division that occurred. It separated darkness from light, and where I was, I must now rise above. I must now heal. I must now heal. I must get those activations, or I will not be healing you in God's light. Do you understand? That's why I will never, ever, ever push somebody forward as a healer unless I know that they are pure of heart and in God's light, because of who I am. Is this making more sense now? This is super, super important to understand, because it's not ego. Don't let your ego confuse you and fool you. Okay? The changes I did are very, 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 very real, and I can prove them to you over and over again. What would help you the most is to diligently watch those workshops that I did, because it truly is the return of Christ, okay? It's everything that had to be undone and everything that had to be changed for the newness to come. And the earth is already changed. I already processed her death, her rebirth. I took her into the new gates. So if you have any darkness, you remove yourself from her, okay? Because they don't compute. That is the divide that I created. If you're a healer and you can't see that Mount Shasta is no longer pure or never was, and that there's no energy there, it's because you were cut off from God's light. There's only certain people who can see things, and you can see others cannot, because they were cut off from that light. They house darkness in them. That's why I'm telling you, be very careful who you're listening to, because you don't know where they're getting their messages from. It's either they're in the light or they are not. There's no in between. Okay? This is why when Spirit told me I was bringing about the return, this stuff, that I was also going to need to bring about modalities. It makes sense. It's not like, oh, I'm the only one that matters. It's God, okay? Everything about God has been brought back. Christ's light, I brought down droves and waves of Christ's light. You have to even be able to receive those. In the path to righteousness, I actually have a thing that allows you to receive those lights. So I'm telling you, it's not about, well, I like you better and I like you better. It's who can align to love, unconditional love, and who cannot. Who can hear God and who cannot. That is the only divide. That is the only thing that matters. And your job right now is to wonder about how healed you are. That should be the only thing that matters, my friends. I have people constantly coming to me going, no, my path is, I don't need you. It's throwing all this shade, and you don't realize is that you're anchored into shade. It should be love. It should be, oh my gosh, look at these blessings. Look at Christ has been returned. Christ has been reborn on Christmas Day. You think I had one person basically even tell me Merry Christmas? And yet I brought the return of Christ on Christmas Day. We are not seeing love, my friends. We are missing that because some of us cannot see God at all. If there's any shadow in you, it's going to block you from that light. If you have not had your DNA activations and you're getting healings from somebody that can't see what's happening in the earth right now because they're not in the light. If they are truly in the light, they are truly activated, they can truly access the Akashic records, they can see all of this. I guarantee you this. If they cannot see it, it's because they have healing to do and they're not there yet. And I guarantee you, not one of you is in the new earth except for those that I've walked through. You don't have to ask me. If you can hear God, ask him. And is it your ego or is it God you're listening to? Can you truly access the Akashic records? Because everything I did is in there. Everything. So this is why it's so important to understand that the division that I brought is between light and dark. And if you have any darkness in you, any shadow, any karma, you cannot see clearly in the light. There will be things you can't see. Maybe you can hear me say yellow, but you won't be able to hear me say Mount Shasta. Maybe you can see my hair, but you won't be able to hear me say Fiji. Or pyramid activations, or the portal of time is mine. I created it. They told me that when I activated a pyramid in Ecuador. When I activated a pyramid in Ecuador, they told me I was Sekhmet and that I created the Sphinx. Then shortly after that, I didn't see it coming, the Nile came and I turned it blood red. I dried it out and replaced the core and the crystal of the earth. Could you hear what I'm saying to you? Or do you have darkness blocking you? That is the divide I brought, my friends. It is super important to understand this, okay? It's not my ego. I guarantee you right now that if you have any karma, any shadow, you cannot heal people. And if you are, you're doing it outside of God's light because I guarantee you, you're not able to see everything clearly. Does that mean everybody has to be perfect? No, but the world has changed. That's what I did. I brought about the change. I brought about the activations. I divided the darkness from the light. So if you have shadow in you, you cannot see clearly. That is why you won't make it. Does that make sense? It's not about, oh, you better do this and you better do this and repent. That's wrong. God doesn't judge anything. God is pure love. And when you throw judgment at me, you better believe it's your shadow and I will spark that. Okay, that's what we're here for, is to help you. But most people just anchor into it, right? Let's not do that. It's very important to see this clearly. Very. This is super important to understand, okay? Because I feel people do that. Well, why should I have to do things her way? God is all loving. We're all going to make it, blah, blah. God is all loving, but we're not all going to make it. Because the divide that I caused is darkness to light. You cannot house any darkness, and they spent many moons convincing you otherwise. They spent many moons getting you to anchor into the darkness through a false God, through false claims, through false beliefs, to make you think he died for your sins, so go ahead and do this and that and the other. But you don't realize is that you just let shadow in, and now you're anchored into it, and now you have to heal out of it in order to rise up. If you have any shadow in you at all, you're not getting clear messages and you're not delivering clear healings. Be careful who you listen to. And if I do something with you and you go into negativities because I sparked your shadow, you must choose love over that. Otherwise, you anchor into it. Those are your lessons. It's all about self-growth and lessons. And you better pay very close attention because the lessons always come in disguise. So much love to all of you. When I looked down, it was 2444. I saw 333111 and 444 in this one. Very valid, very important points. Until next time, have a beautiful day and watch what you are anchored into. If there's any shadow as we rise, you cannot keep rising. That's not a joke. Be careful who you're getting healings from, because if they're not fully activated, if they think Mount Shasta is still of the light, if they can't see what's happening in the earth, they are cut off from the light because they house darkness. That's your free will. Do you want to have darkness in you, or do you want to see clearly? I caused that divide. In order to see clearly, you have to step out of the shadow. You have to see beyond. You have to see beyond. Not just seeing. I can see her, but can I see beyond? People can see me, but can they see who I am? Can they see beyond? So much love, my friends. Have a beautiful day. Know what you're listening to and what you're anchored into. It's an internal journey for a reason. If you're listening to somebody that still has shadow, you don't know what you're listening to. It's like a vibration hidden in a tune. Be very careful. So much love.